Coming up, after losing the party endorsement battle, North Dakota State Representative Becker says he will run for U.S. Senate. Thousands of people gather in Moorhead to pay their final respects to a former Clay County sheriff. And one man is facing charges related to an assault in downtown Fargo. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines. Then it's part two of our one-on-one conversation with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison as he heads into the final stretch of his re-election campaign. Last week, Ellison talked about what he calls the highlights of his first term. Tonight, he responds to criticism over record crime in the state. But first, tonight, after a close race at the North Dakota Republican Endorsing Convention earlier this year, State Representative Becker has announced he will run for U.S. Senate after all. Back in April, Becker lost the delegate vote for endorsement for Senate to current Senator John Hoeven. Becker says his run is focused on giving people an alternative to, quote, big spending Democrat and a big spending Republican. Becker must now gather 1,000 valid signatures in order to get on the ballot. Thousands of family, friends, and members of the local law enforcement community gathered in Moorhead this morning for a memorial for former Clay County Sheriff Bill Bergquist. The event took place at Nemzek Hall on the campus of MSUM. Bergquist passed away last month after a long battle with Alzheimer's dementia. He was laid to rest at Riverside Cemetery in Moorhead. He served as sheriff for nearly 2 decades before retiring in 2019, and he served in law enforcement for a total of more than 40 years. One man is facing charges in connection to an alleged assault in downtown Fargo. Police responded to the 10 block of Broadway North Sunday morning, where officers found 21-year-old Seth Becker lying in the street. The Belcourt resident was detained after he became agitated and uncooperative. Police later learned he had allegedly assaulted a passenger in a vehicle after attempting to get a ride. Becker now faces several charges, including assault and criminal mischief. A Fargo family is looking for a new place to stay after a fire seriously damaged their home. The blaze tore through the home Sunday morning in the 1400 block of 11th Avenue South. 2 people inside the home at the time escaped unharmed, and 2 cats were rescued. No injuries are reported. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. 18 students are set to graduate from the West Fargo Police Department's first ever class of the Local Peace Officer Academy. The 14-week program allows a cadet to become a licensed peace officer in the state of North Dakota. The academy has a near 100% employment rate for graduates who pursue positions as full-time police officers in the state. Chief Dennis Otternes says 12 students have already been offered conditional jobs in law enforcement throughout the region. Graduation takes place this coming Thursday. Congratulations to the graduates. The superintendent of the Fargo Public School System says open enrollment is an option for schools in the district, but says there are a few stipulations.
Where we stand as a school district is that if we have room within our school buildings for beyond what our target enrollment is in that building, we will allow opportunities for open enrollment.
Dr. Rupak Gandhi says the school board has approved open enrollment for next school year as well. That includes a student possibly living in West Fargo but attending a school in Fargo. Gandhi says there's a petition process for those in the district who wish to go to a school not in their sectioned area. You can find more information about this online at WDAYradionow.com. In health news tonight, the reported numbers for COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths are up in North Dakota. Officials tell us hospitalizations topped 100 last week for the first time since the state began weekly COVID-19 reporting in mid-March. There were 17 deaths from the virus reported in the past week, now for a total of more than 2,300 deaths attributed to COVID-19 since March 2020. Nearly half of the state's counties are now considered to have a high risk for COVID-19 transmission. Bismarck native and former Miss America Caramund is traveling North Dakota in her bid for a congressional nomination. Mund was in Fargo at the West Acres Mall over the weekend collecting signatures for her petition to be added to the November ballot for U.S. House of Representatives. She needs 1,000 signatures to qualify to run as an independent. Now, if Mund is elected, she would become the first female congresswoman to represent the state of North Dakota. Law enforcement around the state is set to crack down again on impaired drivers. ND Vision Zero has announced extra patrols statewide, resuming August 19 through Labor Day weekend in hopes of curbing impaired driving on North Dakota roadways. We're told 35% of fatalities in North Dakota last year involved alcohol-related crashes. And the South Dakota Department of Public Safety is releasing its final numbers for this year's Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. From August 6th through the 14th, there were 3 deadly motorcycle accidents and 50 injury crashes. About 150 people were arrested for DUI and 1,430 citations were issued. Overall, both DUI arrests and citations were down compared to last year's event. Well, thanks for choosing the Nightly Review as your source for keeping up to date on all that is happening in the FM Metro and the surrounding region. Please take a minute and support our efforts by hitting subscribe and the bell button below. We appreciate it. Time now for the latest on the forecast from meteorologist Justin Storm in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thanks, Tom. As we head through the rest of this evening into tonight, we'll continue to see mostly cloudy conditions across the area with a south-southeast wind between 5 and 15 miles per hour. There will be a slight chance for an isolated storm through this later evening, although a slightly higher chance will come through the overnight hours. With low temperatures dipping to the lower and mid-60s, we'll continue to see light wind out of the south. For Tuesday, partly sunny, a few scattered showers and storms are likely in the afternoon with temperatures near 80. Will be a little on the breezy side with wind gusts as high as 25 out of the southwest, and we'll dry things out on Wednesday, partly cloudy. Wind will be lighter out of the north around 5 to 15 with a high temperature remaining around 80 degrees.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. For tonight's one-on-one conversation, we continue with part 2 of our conversation with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Last Friday, in part 1, we heard from the incumbent Democrat talking about his primary election win and talking about what he calls highlights from his first term. Tonight, we hear Ellison responding to criticism from his Republican challenger Jim Schultz and others over the state's record crime rates.
Well, the criticism is just political. It's just campaign season talk. But I will say that the fear that people feel from crime is legitimate. Crime victims need to have an attorney general who really cares, understands the pain that they live through. In Minnesota, the state law says that our 87 county attorneys are the first jurisdiction to handle criminal prosecution. I don't know how my opponent is going to abide by the law and still take over county attorneys' cases without their consent. I think it is a signal that he doesn't know what the AG does or doesn't care and is willing to say whatever. But I will commend him for his primary victory. But I think it was interesting, going back to your last topic, at least Doug Wardlaw was honest about where he stands on the abortion question. This guy is back and forth and all over the place trying to figure out how to say the thing most pleasing to the majority of people. Sometimes he's anti-choice, sometimes he's pro-choice. Who knows? But I guess I'll let the voters decide that. At the end of the day, people have a right to be safe. As Attorney General, we have prosecuted about 40 criminal cases from over 22 counties, Aiken County, Clearwater County, Carlton County. When murders happen in those places and our county attorney partners ask us to be involved, we do, and we bring justice. We've never lost one for them. We've done over 160 some appeals, which is very important for them. And we do involuntary commitments for those people who are psychologically, the medically insane, psychologically dangerous. We take those cases for those involuntary commitment cases, very involved, complicated cases that we do for those counties. So we are absolutely criminal justice partners for our counties. We take the tough cases. We're glad to do it. And we are a part of restoring public safety. But I'll tell you, I was just in a conversation a little while ago with a lot of mental health professionals, and they'll be the first to tell you, it's easy for a politician to say more longer sentences, this, that, whatever. They'll just shout out slogans, but actually restoring safety is a mixture of intervention, criminal prosecution, but also prevention. All these things got to be a part of it.
Ellison specifically talked about addressing violent carjackings.
The carjacking, for example, yes, we will investigate and prosecute carjackers, and we're glad to have our federal partners helping us there. But what about the kid who hasn't done it yet? We've got to be there for that kid, intervene and say, look, kid, you don't want to go down this road. Not only is it going to deprive you of your liberty, you're going to hurt another person and you're going to destroy your future. So we've got to have allies in the youth serving areas. And what that means is building relationships, not grandstanding and making declarations that you really can't meet because the law doesn't allow it.
I'd like to thank Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. The incumbent Democrat is seeking his second term in the position. Well, that will do it for this Monday night, August 15th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.